like we are live. So, for the purposes of the replay video later, hello. I'm going to be continuing on tonight with the Gran Turismo playthrough. Gran Turismo Sport, that is. So, what we've done so far is just trying to approach the game as if we were kind of a new player, albeit somebody who's got a decent bit of experience in racing games, and the Gran Turismo series in particular. So the reason I'm trying to kind of approach this again from a fresh perspective is I've recently invested in this bit of kit, wheel, pedal setup. It's the Logitech G29. If anybody's sort of interested in trying out entry-level sim racing and just dipping the toe in and seeing if that's for them, then yeah, this is probably the sort of thing that you'd go for. I'm in exactly that sort of position. So even though I've done most of the single player on this game before, and I've done a little bit of the online racing as well, although not very much of that, so that's going to be an interesting learning curve. I thought it'd be worthwhile experience to just kind of go through it again, go through as well, remind myself of some of the physics of driving, some of the kind of key things to remember, how to get through corners with maximum speed, because I guess with the controller, even though a lot of the inputs are analog, you're still going to have a little bit of help from the computer's AI behind the scenes. Just the nature of the way that is an input device is never going to be able to be anything like as smooth and neat as a proper steering wheel and pedal setup. So, you'll notice as well, if you look at top times on Gran Turismo leaderboards, that the controllers are actually really capable of getting up to those top times. Usually the very top times are set by somebody with some kind of wheel setup for that extra amount of precision that they're going to get from it. However, it's amazing just how competitive the times can be, and partly that's down to driver skill and learning, but there is also a little bit of tweakery that goes on behind the scenes. So surprisingly, when you first get behind a wheel utility, then it feels a little bit tricky. Although the feel of the wheel's really nice and the pedals feel really nice, and as a driver, it was very quick and easy to adapt into the feel of those. It felt very natural. It felt very much like the sort of amount of play that you get in an average car, and the steering wheel force feedback's a little bit light, but it's not massively different to a road car with power steering. So that feels very natural. What's less natural, I suppose, is getting used to really catching some of your errors, because again, you've not got any aids from the AI, from the software that's handling the controller inputs, helping you along there. So where skids and steers can be quite easy to recover when you're using a dual pad controller, the DualShock 4 type controller, they become a lot more tricky at times when you are using the wheel, because you've got to react at quite a bit of speed, and obviously to move your thumb this amount is a lot different to moving your arms this amount, and that kind of physical nature of it. So without further ado, let's have a little look at what I kind of got planned for this stream. So where we left it last time, we're just having a look. We had a little go through some of the GT League, did some of the very early races. We did our first license that we actually was able to enter races. We also just touched upon some of the online races. I had a little look at the weekly race, and this week the weekly races that are held at Suzuka, which is a BMW M3 race, a one make, so obviously you get a car provided for you for that one. So we were able to enter that one. The next one is a GR3 and a GR4 race, and we don't have cars that match either of those categories. So I had a little look last time, and I was interested in doing the Group 3 race at Red Bull Ring, because I thought that's be quite an interesting one to show on a stream, because you get an idea of the kind of way online races will often pan out on these kind of fast circuits. And yeah, in order to do that, we're going to need to earn a little bit of cash. So what I thought might be interesting for tonight, again, would be to do some of the single player stuff, because some of these, although the single player is a little bit light in this game, there's enough of interest there that'll also net you quite a little bit of in-game money, so you can pick up cars quite easily, and you also win a lot of cars for doing these missions. Look at the driving missions first, and then perhaps look at one of the circuit experience missions as well, because again, you get a random car for winning each of those circuit events. They're really good for learning the circuits as well. Right then, so mission number 1 is going to be dead simple, it looks like, because you've only got 2 corners really. Short battle on 2 corners, raise your position, being wary not to drive, and hey ho, would you look. It's Gran Turismo's favourite car, the Mazda Roadster / MX-5. So here we go. Look at that acceleration, absolutely incredible stuff. Barely dropped any speed into that corner there. Really no need, because we didn't have any to start with. Just going to lift a little bit through here, just coast gently with my foot, sort of hovering on the accelerator. I mean, yeah, not a great deal of challenge there. Track there, Willow Springs, not my favourite by any means. It's quite a tricky one to drive that for a number of reasons. But we got some prize money for it, we got some mileage points. It was fairly trivial to do. And, you know, as with the rest of the game, the more you go through them, the harder they get. And some of the challenges, the mission challenges on this and the circuit experience challenges, are really tricky. There's actually a Nordschleifer circuit experience, which, yeah, you've got to get. I'm not sure what the exact time you've got to get your car around in, but given you can be 6 minutes into your lap on that track, make a small mistake, and you bin the whole thing. I can imagine that one being quite frustrating to really do that kind of time attack on Nordschleifer. Skills there. The one thing about the AI drivers in Gran Turismo is they are notoriously dumb as rocks. They pay no attention to the fact that there are other cars racing around them, and if you pass them too close, they will have no objection to just continuing on the racing line. They just don't really react to you. Don't really react to your presence, except to occasionally take a little swipe at you and knock you off your line. So they're fairly easy to overtake if you get used to them, but don't expect them to be any sort of teaching or learning experience for actual overtaking, actual racing. It's quite ironic, really, given that when we was on the last stream, we looked at how you actually get into the online races. It makes you sit through about 5 minutes of videos on racing etiquette and how not to put other cars off the track. Hello, Shifty Hands. Nice to see you. Yeah, thanks for popping in, man. Good to see you. We're just doing a little bit of Gran Turismo Sport. Doing some of the single player at the minute and just grinding, really. Getting some cash together so that we've got enough to buy a couple of cars that'll take us into the more interesting online racing. How's things? See what we got first. Tokyo City Battle. Have the dubious honour of being the first person to post in my chat room. Okay, that was a nice easy one. Just took a couple of had to overtake a couple of cars there. Really easy gold, easy bit of money. I'll push through to get a car. Looking forward to checking out the setup. Yeah, nice wheel. Yeah, it's pretty new to me really. I've only had it a few weeks. It's definitely on the entry level side of things. It's Logitech G29. I guess most people who would be sort of considering starting out would look at something like this before just dip your toe in before you go for something more expensive. Now, having said that, it's a really, really capable wheel, and although you're paying 200 quid, which is a lot for a peripheral for any game, the amount of games you get to play with it and the amount of sort of extra enjoyment it brings to the game is massive. So yeah, the feedback's it's pretty good. It's slightly strange in places because it's done on a gearing system rather than being belt driven. Most of the time you don't really notice that, but occasionally when you're going over bumps and things and it's simulating that, you do kind of feel the notches a little bit. The feedback's not the strongest, but then again, I drive a Volkswagen mid-sized people carrier with power steering that's like super duper duper, so it's pretty much similar to driving my own car really. It's not going to rip your arm off or anything. You don't need an emergency stop for it, but yeah, it's totally changes the gameplay. It's harder in some ways to get started, so this will be interesting. Doing a little cone trial. We've got to knock over the cones. All right, it's just like bowling, I see. At first actually was not getting as good lap times as I would have had with the controller, and that'll be just down to muscle memory, that kind of thing, and getting used to the different. But what I've found is that the bit where it does get a little bit tricky. We got 99 out of 100. Damn it. What it does get a little bit tricky sometimes is catching and recovering when you go off, because if you play it on a DualShock, you just go flick your thumb across. It's the working with it. You're playing on this, and it's going to like pull your arm across this way, and then. Okay, so we've got to knock all the cones over, which means it's in a dead centre every time. Not really much of a time penalty, but nice to get a little bit wider every time. That's the last one. There we go. Nice easy gold there. Cone King. Free trophy. Yeah, I'd love to see something like that for rally. Down for rally, yeah, definitely. I see some of the more hardcore rally games out there. See some of the videos of people playing those with the really powerful force feedback wheels, and you think, wow, that is a serious workout. And then obviously you want to get your handbrake shifter as well. And it looks more intense than going to the gym. Let's see what our next one. Blue Moon Speedway. So sort of mini oval, but a much faster car this time. So let's see how that drives. So how did the how did the Call of Duty go last night in there? Did your team end up winning? Well, it was going to be quite a close one from what I saw of it. Oval racing is sometimes a bit trickier in this game than the road tracks, especially in the single player, because the AI is shocking on road tracks, so they're really easy to overtake. But on the drafty slipstream tracks, the AI will often take a little nibble out of you if you pass them, which is very fun to all in one lap, so this is going to be close. Last corner. There we lost it there. Just managed to catch it. He's going to pass me. So, try and draft me and take me out. and terrible. Yeah. Yeah, those, I mean, those sort of fast-paced, ultra-competitive games that can be totally devastating. I mean, I tend to find racing a little bit more calming and quite chilled. Even when you're not racing great, you know, you can just kind of forget about the race a little bit and just concentrate on your own driving. But the other game I play a lot is Rocket League. I don't know if you play Rocket League, but again, it's that very fast-paced, competitive environment, and it's just sometimes you make a couple of mistakes and you just want the ground to swallow you up. It's horrible. Oh, could not work out what the 0.1% was. No, I don't know actually. That's bizarre. Oh, you like Rocket League? Rocket League, you play Rocket League yourself? Excellent, excellent. Yeah, totally amazing game. Yeah, the 0.1%. That is. Do you know that'd be something really like a fastest lap on a particular race or something like that. I think Gran Turismo 3. I think I did clear that one up. I seem to have remembered memories of the last license test being a hot lap in Monaco in some nuts car that just had no downforce at all, the power, and it was just absolutely impossible. And it took, I think, about 20 hours of just solid practicing on the same track to finally nail it. I've just done the same race again, haven't I? This is the peril stream I'm chatting, isn't it? As you were still saying last night. Instead of lose your concentration on what you're doing. But we'll have a bit of free credit for it because it's literally seconds to get around that track, so on to the next one. Yeah, it's really strange. I can't even think what that might be. I was thinking actually, perhaps getting some of the older ones out. This wheel is compatible with the PlayStation 3, so that's 5 and 6 that would be playable. But the one I'd really like to revisit was 4. 4 was a fantastic game, which I absolutely played to death when I was at uni. Didn't bother going to lectures, just played Gran Turismo. So now we're going to do this is like my favourite section of any course on this entire game, except the opposite of that. It's fucking horrible. Big Willow Springs. This track is just horrible in so many ways. It's completely featureless desert, so your references are a little bit off for starters. There's barely any curbs anywhere, and you just go out onto miles and miles of sand. So if you do make a mistake, you're just gonna drift off, never recover, and lose masses and masses of time. Plus some of the corners, like these ones, really, really technical. Loads of bumps, loads of little cambers in the road. Never quite feel like you've got the right line through anything. I mean, in this little entry mission, there's not going to be a problem at all. But in an actual race on here, it's grim times. Okie dokie, man. Yeah, absolutely. Cheers for popping in. I really, really appreciate it. Give me some practice of actually speaking and playing at the same time. But yeah, great to see you again if you're able to pop in at any time. I should be playing this for a little while tonight. I'll try and win some online races later. Yeah, it is an awesome game. Really, really like these games. Have done since the very first one on the PlayStation. Right, so this is just a top speed challenge. So what we really need to do is keep our foot planted, or there's probably going to be a little approach on that entry turn that we're going to have to just get right so that we can carry enough speed through the corner and get that acceleration up. There's some other cars, so we're going to get to slipstream a little bit, I see. on. Oh, no, that's ruined it. We have to start again. So that gets us the bronze. Just nudge that car a little bit there. Certainly do find the oval tracks easier to drive with a wheel. It can be quite tricky with a controller. There we go, we've got the 155 easy, 161.5. Smash, we're going to the back of that car. So let's see what we've got to do. I've got to say these first 8 have not been terribly exciting. I've got a whole lap now to race, so that's a little bit something. But they're not terribly exciting, really, really quick, and bringing in a fair bit of cash and mileage points. Plus, we're going to get a bonus car at the end of this, which may be something we can use in the online races, or maybe not. But it's grinding us there so we can have enough cash to buy the car. Can, of course, pay to play with Gran Turismo Sport in that you can buy the cars. Usually about £1 to £3, I think, for each car. Personally, I won't bother. The joy of this has always been, grinding a bit to save up for a particular car, and they give the money away pretty easily, so it's not like you have to really pay a lot. Attention to what it actually was. Looks like some kind of concept car with a funky steering wheel like that. Yeah, catching by the line, maybe the slipstream. Out. Oh, I've got another lap left. Alright, well, there we go. Totally unprepared for this corner. I thought that was a one-lap challenge. Okay, we managed to get just about past everyone then. So, we just got our position now. Very high-speed course, this one. But not particularly technical challenge. This corner, so I know the layout of it. All of the corners are pretty wide open, you get plenty of chance to see it. There's nothing really tricky that you're going to learn here, so. Let's see what we get if we get a little reward for that. I think we might. So did we win a car? We won a car. Could be any one of these exciting things. It looks like there's some Group 4, Group 3 cars in there. What's that? Group 4 GT by Citroen. That's what we was just driving, actually. That weird looking thing with the fancy looking space cockpit. Okay, well that'll be a car we can race in the Willow Springs event. Oh, and we can also race it conveniently in this next mission race. So it wasn't that very, very convenient that we won. So we're racing in Croatia at the Dragon Trail Seaside. I have to Google this one because I'm not sure if Dragon Trail Seaside is actually a real track or one of the invented ones for the game. So I should research that at some point. Quite a lot of the tracks in game are real world locations, but it's also got some really awesome tracks in there that are designed by the developers. And Gran Turismo as a series has always been known for having some really, really nice original tracks, which hopefully we're going to see the return of some of them in the new Gran Turismo 7. I believe Trial Mountain is making a return, which is a firm favourite of mine. It's having a bit of a reprofile, so it'll be fun to learn that again. I'm sure it'll feature some new layouts and bells and whistles now. Real good fun technical section at the start of that race, start of that track, which a lot of fun once you learn it. Take a lot of different ways and different styles of car. Right over the curves there. That'll give us a good pull, trying to take us off. Big braking mode onto this. Not quite a hairpin, but sharp. More than 90 degree right-hander into the chicane. This chicane, you can be very, very cheap in this chicane in terms of going. You go right across that, well, you will get a penalty. And of course in the online races, you have to because everybody else does. It doesn't feel right, it doesn't feel like it's the right line to take. And I'm sure if that was a real circuit, you'd get a penalty for doing so, especially if you're doing it repeatedly. If there's an advantage to be made there, again, this is a 2-lap race. We're about to take them. Wow! See that dive in front of me there? There's defensive driving and then there's just cutting straight in front of you. That was not really defensive driving. Interesting car to drive, this one. Seems to have a lot of grip and a fair amount of downforce, so you should get a lot of cornering speed out of it, but it's very quick through the gears. Not a great deal of field of view in the cockpit view, so probably one of those that's going to be easier to drive in one of the alternate views. However, I've got my wheel. I want as much realism as possible in my sim. It certainly does add an extra dimension to racing cockpit view. I've never really bothered with it in the previous games when I was playing with the DualShock, but more immersion with the wheel and everything. Fantastic. Stay at constant speed in 5th gear there, drop it a little bit. Second chicane, although you can still be really aggressive with it, it's a lot tighter than the first one, so you do need to slow down a substantial amount for it. Oh, notice most of these corners on this track can be taken in a higher gear than the game recommends. You get a lot more speed out of it. Excellent. Well, there we go. Another fairly easy one. I promise you some of these do get more difficult. There were a few when I was playing through first time when I got the game, I was playing through with my DualShock. That took me a good few times to have a go at. But by and large, having a fair amount of experience with this sort of game, they're not too tricky. I do think it would be fantastic though for somebody who is just coming into the series, somebody who's just learning. And one of the really nice things about Gran Turismo is that it has always had those, tutorials and basics of driving, of the physics of driving, to help new players out. Is this another max speed one? start that. It didn't go too well. So not very clean, and we didn't quite get to the time. I think what I need to do there is perhaps just hang back a little, so I've stay behind them both until I'm ready to exit that corner, and then take a slipstream right the way along that straight. If I don't lose it before I even get there, which I don't know. This is why I hate Willow Springs. You just like, yeah, let's just get one wheel off onto the sand. That's it, race over. So yeah, it wasn't a case of actually trying to get ahead, it was just hanging back a bit, waiting, making sure I had that slipstream there to pull into. Slipstream does feel kind of exaggerated in places in the game, and actually when you're in the online racing, okay, so we're going to take a different car into this. This is one of our own cars, and we'll take the WRX. Yeah, when you're doing the online racing, it has modifiers for the things like tyre wear, fuel consumption, and slipstream being one of them. So if it's got a high slipstream enabled, then it's a little bit easier to kind of to gain places. Sometimes get a bit more action. Then it does feel kind of false as well. So, Brands Hatch Indy. Nice little circuit this. I prefer the full course, but the Indy circuit is good fun. And it has got one of the trickiest corners in the game, which is this one. And as you can see, there's a lot going on in that corner. You're coming downhill. Road surface is a little bit uneven. You're turning at the braking point. You're not going straight when you actually hit that first braking point. And the braking point's unsighted because you can't see the exit of the corner at the point, or even the entrance of the corner where you're trying to brake. So, yeah, lots and lots to take in at that corner, and that's definitely one that you have to learn. It's not going to just come straight to you. There's a lot of corners you can sort of look at them and judge roughly what your racing line's going to be through. That's one that you have to practice, do different things, and really try and understand what the weight's going to do, how the car's going to behave through it. So when you are approaching that, there's a little white line there, which is generally where you start the harder part of the braking. And sometimes give it a little bit of brakes before that, just to steady the car. Especially if I'm sort of in traffic and therefore not taking an optimum line, so I've got perhaps more steering angle in the car than I would like. Audi is really making himself big. Not that he has to get out of the way, obviously, but that was very unexpected braking, very heavy. Had a nice little bite on the back end for good measure. Kind of deserved, really, because I did slam into the back of him twice, but he was braking heavily on the racing line, which is one of those things that's kind of frowned upon in racing. So there's that white line, and that's just where we really start there with braking. As you can see, car wants to turn, it wants to roll, it wants to skid about the place and give you all kinds of problems with getting the traction and the power back down. But also, also, it's kind of a funny corner in that if you try and just sail over it and coast and let the car go light, that's even worse. You can get some really messy lines through there. Just find lose control of the car easily. Gravel trap. We're far enough ahead for it not to matter. Miles ahead there. Just playing about, getting a little bit leery into the corners, getting the back end a bit wild. Why not? It's Big Willow again, and a full, how many laps? 2 laps within the time limit. Okay, so this is going to be like an arcade style with the timer counter going. You can cope with that. I've got AI on there as moving chicanes. Oh dear, how is this? Big heap roads there as soon as I put the brake on, so it's sitting there kind of not to be I guess it's going to be some kind of American muscle car racing version. It tends to be their characteristic. Tons of power and twitchy back ends. Watched any real life racing at Willow Springs yet. Should have to have a look on YouTube for that and see if this is a pleasant circuit to actually drive as it is to drive in games. This corner gets much tighter at the end, but usually if you just get past that cone and get your foot down after that, constantly tempting. It's one of those corners with like sort of cowboy version of a parabolica at Monza. You're just constantly being tempted to get your foot down earlier and earlier, but if you do, you can easily find yourself with a quick trip to the gravel. Your face. Yeah, so that's the section that really requires a lot of concentration. That twist and sort of going in the middle of that. First couple of corners of that are really nice. The left-hander going uphill, it's just when the right-hand contact starts at this. Very difficult to do. There's quite a lot of speed that time. Ooh, within the time anyway. Hello again, Shifty Hands. Nice to see you back. Did pop in and see a little bit of Sue's stream yesterday. Survival horror. Is it Last of Us 2? Not the sort of game I normally play, but They do look like fun. I must try one again. I've not really played anything like that since Silent Hill. Kind of drifted off games for years and years and years. Lost a bit of interest, and then sort of early last year decided to invest in a PS4 and got back into it in a big way. Right then, here we go. Alsace Village, N200, race 2 laps. This is another track I'm not very familiar with. What's happened to my controller there? It's that video channel there again. Yeah, I'm not very familiar with this track. I think this is its first appearance in a Gran Turismo game. So I've not really learned it that well. And there's a couple of corners that just tend to catch me out. These lovely, lovely, lovely slow road cars here. Taking ages to accelerate, but the online racing, I find the road cars are actually quite fun. Not so much against, in these sorts of things, against the AI. So I think after this one, I'm going to head over onto online. I think we should have earned enough credits now to get a Group 4 car, or a Group 3 car rather, and take it off to the Red Bull Ring. It's the online is really where this game's pitched, and it is a lot of fun. I must admit. There's a few issues with it, like there is with every online game, but Dead Rising, yeah, that was it. Yeah, I saw. If you follow a Dalek Khan at all, I know Sue does. That's where I found the channel from. Actually, it was one of his recommendations. I saw him play some of it, and yeah, it's pretty brutal. I happen to. This is the danger of leaving your kids unsupervised for a bit during the school holidays. I popped my 6-year-old on the PS4 earlier. We've recently got that PlayStation Now thing, so you can stream hundreds and hundreds of games and just play them straight off over the internet without actually turning your hard drives. Really, really good value. But yeah, I came to have a look, and that's what he'd been playing The Last of Us. Like, oh god. Thankfully, oh dear. I think he's just kind of opened it, realised it's not his sort of game, and then closed it quickly back down again. So yeah, so going a little bit of content there, not concentrating. This corner is horrible. I hate this corner. It's so easy to find yourself in that blue and yellow barrier there. Drag race up here. Outside without getting a little bite taken out of me, which is the AI's favourite trick. But yeah, he's nowhere near me. Oh no, oh no, oh no, oh no. Ah. Oh well, we just about caught that. This is really the power of the track, you don't know very well. And slidey cars. It all gets a bit like a Top Gear test track special. Which is not really what I want. I want to get quick laps, not Tokyo drift laps. Oh, I just stomped on the brake instead of the accelerator. It never worked well. There's a few more corners, just got that last little tricky section, and that corner from hell. get out of boring single player and do a little bit online. Probably be quite a nice circuit this if I actually bothered to learn it. So I hope it turns up in a weekly race soon. You know, it's a hell of a long circuit, so you probably won't get many laps on it. Again, just a very boy racer in this particular car. What it actually is. Just paying no attention on the loading screen. But it's certainly quite slow. So if we get through this without hitting the wall, then I think we'll probably win it. Oh no! Oh god! No, and that really is the tricky thing, getting used to the wheels. On a D-pad, you've just gone, yeah, done. We're back, back straight in line. But really do have to give it some. Yeah, some people just playing, specialising on game. I guess I'm probably, if anything, a little bit of a specialist on this, but. Other games that I played quite a lot that I'd love to be specialist at, but I'm just not very good. Like Rocket League, really want to be good at Rocket League. It feels so satisfying when you get something right, but it doesn't happen very often. Right then, we've received a gift card as well, so again this is going to be helpful towards our. What's the betting? It's going to be the 40 grand sports coupe. It's going to be a fucking Mazda Miata. The MX-5. No, it's not. It's the Honda S2000. Oh, bit of a clone of a Mazda Roadster, if you ask me. But yeah, that's another underpowered Japanese soft top to add to my ever-growing collection. Yeah, I know some of the tracks well, not all. Some of the ones that I've been on for a while, or the world circuits. Yeah, I've raced them enough that I know them well, but a lot of the original ones on Gran Turismo Sport I've not got my head around yet. Yeah, I mean, there still is totally that aspect of it. It's like, mid-range Japanese sort of executive sports cars. Let's have shitloads of those. There's 25 different skylines and all that kind of crap still there. When we go into sport mode, and I was going to buy a Group 4 car, wasn't I? That was the thing. Now, which one to buy? I think they're all about the same amount of money. They're all about 450k. But I don't really have a preference. I've not explored them enough to really know what is good. I think I'm possibly tempted to go for there's like a it's Group 3 I want, isn't it? I think there's a Group 3 R8 which is tempting me. Yeah, I think I'm going to go for that because I've raced it a couple of times in one make, and it's done me well. It's reasonably straightforward to control, behaves itself, which is the kind of car that I like. Not generally a fan of the Audis in real life. Never really quite got on with the looks, but not going to have to look at the outside of it anyway. So, don't go back and buy another car. I've just bought one. Let's get into sport mode finally. And take our brand new car out to the track. and just be thankful that you don't get lasting damage in this game, because yeah, the online races can get a little bit nudgy, but it's good fun when it all works out, and when people keep it clean around you. So 10 minutes till the match, till the race starts, so we'll have to set a bit of a lap. Have not set any laps around this track yet in this particular weekly race. So that'll be interesting. I don't know Red Bull Ring particularly well either. It's very fast. Way. That's nice. Crap. Well, there's a good start. There's a little trip through the grass. Right, so turn 1. Second gear. Opens up a little bit on the exit. Power a bit earlier there than I did. Second proper corner is a lot tighter, and where I suspect things will get really nudgy in the online, and that will probably be a penalty as well for track limits, right over that curve there. So after corner 1 and 2 I just get totally hazy, I have no real idea where I'm going. Just not experienced enough on this circuit. Oh no. Although it's a very pretty circuit to watch on TV, from the actual cockpit perspective, a little bit featureless in places, so it's not an easy one to just get your head around remembering, because a lot of the corners look quite similar on entry. So that's where the penalty line is going to be. So when we inevitably get penalties, that's where we'll be slowing down. Hey, nice spin into the pit lane there. Nice. Yeah. Probably a good thing that there's a 10-minute qualifying period before this one. Actually get warmed up to the car in the so I'm going to try. Yeah, next streaming, I'm gonna stick to Thursdays definitely regular for now. After that, see how I'll probably just be as and when between them when I can get time to go on it. But I'm gonna try a regular weekly Thursday for the time being and see how that goes. And then if I want to add some more games or do a bit more of this, if it picks up, then I'll try and do a bit more. But yeah, gonna be just kind of on and off as and when through the week. But I will stick a Thursday in my calendar as a regular. So thanks ever so much for popping in. Been great to have a little chat with you, and yeah, I shall come back and have a look into your stream as well next time I get a notification that you're on. So be good to chat again. Right, where was I? I was going to mess about with my brake balance. Just move the brake balance to the forward a little bit, see how that feels. I can't remember if it's if I stop, it's usually a good chance to do a practice start, so we'll do a bit of that as well. Get a bit of a bouncing on that curve, it's worth remembering. Pick that penalty up for spinning off into the pit lane. A little flavour of how that penalty line works. Just how much speed we're going to lose if we get one through there. Oh, it's horrible. two pedal lines on this slate? Two pedal lines. There is. Right, so let's do that again, but good. So braking just around for those cones. I think I'm doing it better there. Big shortcut through that, so I got penalised for it. Just have to watch that yellow curve and catch one of those and send bounce it up. Let's go right over the middle of it, ideally. Braking zone, just around those cones. Probably once again, could have gone a lot further. I'm going to keep it just away from that curve this time. Next one again. Fast, very slow forward. That's not first gear slow, surely. It's keeping second through there. Just keeps the car stable, stops it over revving. I think that's possibly a third gear corner as well, rather than a second gear corner. So probably not take quite as much curve in there. That again, I think third gear but with a bit more control and a slightly better line. Do as well. This exit complex definitely wants to be in third. Didn't quite get that right. We want to cut the corner a little bit more even, just to really get on the power quickly. So 138. No idea what a good time is on this track. So yeah. Next. I kind of forgot where the track was going there. Well, you know, sometimes it's good to know where those little off-roads and escape roads are, just in case we need them in a natural place. That's my excuse, I'm sticking to it. Really tightens up these gravel traps. Perfectly fair, but they're not helping the ride massively over braking, overshoot every corner. Oh, how the hell am I in first gear? Well, shut up for a minute. Nobody's in the chat room with you. Just concentrate on getting a good lap time. So it looks like time's about up on us, and we only set one real complete lap there that didn't have a massive incident off or penalty. So we're going in with 138. Let's see where that is. I suspect it's going to be near the back. Although, of course, in this account we are still just a Group DE, so it might not be particularly catastrophic. That's interesting. Chat limit penalty there. Sorry, track limit penalty there. Well, it's another warm summer's night here in sunny Grimsby. So we qualified 14th out of 16. Not surprising at all. Pole was set with a 129.4. So yeah, I could see myself getting a lot more time off what I had set. So the aim of the game for this race, as it will be for all of my races currently, is to come out with a good sportsmanship record. So we're currently B grade. There's a lot of A grades and B grades in here. So it should be a cleanish field. I would like to get up to A, hopefully in the next couple of races, and stay there by being clean and tidy. Seems that you can go up quite quickly in the sportsmanship rating, but you can also lose it quite quickly. And when you're down with the D's and E's for sportsmanship, it's quite brutal. It's not a lot of fun down there. So I could see this one could be a real killer, because I don't know the track very well, which means there's more chance of me going off track limits, making horrendous mistakes, not having good lines to overtake, because I'm not really sure what the optimal racing line is through the corners. And you know, it's a very fast circuit with a lot of short, sharp turns, which are probably some of the worst ones for contact. That kind of corner just very often leads to contact. So we're right down the back of the grid. Football player 81 in front of us. Beanie 17 in front of him. So, pretty horrible start straight away. That was clean. Fair play to him. Litratero. Where did he come from? He must have gone all kinds of strange to him there. Oh, goodness, three. Get back on the track without spinning. No, did not get back on the track without spinning. Oh, and it's not gonna. Well, that is it. That is total race over. Awkwardly, sometimes when you go off like that, it just kind of kills a couple of seconds and takes you off the track and then puts you back on somewhere. But No, sometimes it just doesn't, and you're just kind of there hopelessly. I've not really learnt a good way to spin the cars very quickly yet. I should probably practice that. Just take it out onto one of the driving park tracks, put it in first gear, and just donut it until I get a hang of and spinning around quickly. So again, we're just going to use the rest of this to practice, really, pick up a bit more time, hopefully start to see those lap times come down a little bit, and of course it'll be easy enough to avoid collisions back here. Don't know what all that spinning round business does for your sportsmanship record. I don't think there's anything good for it, but I wasn't really paying attention to see I've got a little orange marker. Told me whether I was actually getting penalised for it. See Beanie 17 up ahead, he's obviously in troubles of his own. Let's see if we can maybe get a bit closer to him. About 8 seconds behind at the minute. Somebody's had a bit of an off. Fabulous 12 out of 12 because he's sitting there appealing in front of me. So it could make the race a bit more interesting for us if we can try and catch him. Feels really, really rough on the car as you go across that curve. You feel a big thud coming through the wheel. Lots of bouncing down on those curbs. I just must have just clipped that on the front wheel rather than going over it. It spun me. But I'm sure going over those curbs is where the best time is to penalise you for it. It's a no-brainer, that's going to be the way to go. If you actually hit the angle of the curb wrong, it won't show a bit like it did. It's not going to be slow. So, just get a bit more familiar with the track and play around with it. Excited. It's like the jump of tarmac sort of appearing in the way. Oh, there we go, it's fabulous, it's gone off again. Don't think he was with anybody then. Shoot a little spin, he's probably doing the same as me, just learning this track out in a minute, getting a feel for it. Too far out. See that a lot in the Formula 1 on that corner. So that might hurt our sportsmanship rating again a little bit. Slow down at the next line as well, so we'll probably not catch racer in front of us. Well, we've only got a little lap and a half, I suppose, to do that in, so we might. That half a second there, not too severe. Legs in that corner. This is complete amateur hour here. I think that one's watching, eh? So we're on 20 to 10. Final that. Just not turning in sharply, not getting the car slowed down enough, not turning in sharply, and therefore not getting any good exits in the corners either. Also got, it would appear, ABS still on, which I need to get back on, because it's, if you look at what it's doing when I'm sticking the foot on the brake, when I'm going in hard, it's taking off sometimes half of the braking force that I'm trying to apply, which, I mean, yes, it's got a function in stopping and locking the brakes up, but I don't want it to try and just take off all of my force at the expense of that little bit of security. And to be honest on this game, I don't find that I tend to miss the ABS too much once it's off. All you really have to do is just roll your brake a little bit rather than just stamp it, you know, straight down to the floor, go on slightly smoothly. We did go up 2 positions there and we won 14k for it, so better than nothing, better than nothing. I think what we're going to do, we'll come out and we shall enter that race again. We'll have another go at it. So 7 minutes until that runs again. We'll come back and do a little bit of a quali lap on it. But I think what I'm going to do is just nip and make a quick hot drink while we're waiting for the next race to start. So we'll get the qualifying truck. I'm trying to load it up. I'll go and make a cup of tea. I'll open the window as well. It's a little bit warm in here. I shall catch you in just a few moments if we've got anybody actually in at the moment. Okay, so we are back. I've got a cup of blackcurrant tea to be getting on with. Not sure whether we've got any viewers in or bots at the moment, but if so, we're just setting quality laps for the group 3. I need to avoid that curve actually. I'm just not doing well by it. See some of the lines that very, very good quality laps take on that turn 1, and they do use you know, that whole curve and get on the outside of the yellow curve as well, but I'm not sure if that one made it typical on the track. I've not quite got the hang of it yet to be trying those little trips around the track. I just need to get clean lines, know where the more standard racing lines through the track and actually which places are going to have room during the race, which places are going to get squeezed, where we're likely to see incidents. So there's a lot of a learning curve usually picking up these online races to get started. And even for a fairly experienced player going like myself, you can see I'm nowhere near hitting a good time straight out of the box. Maybe with a bit more experience, a few more weeks of doing the weekly races, I'll start to get these nailed a little bit quicker. But yeah, for the minute, it's cars that I wouldn't normally drive. Perhaps it's tracks I've not spent much time on, so. I think I may actually start taking that one in first, because I don't seem to be doing very well at taking it in second. Not many corners or cars in this game where you actually do want to go down to first gear. Oh no, that's what I need to do. I'll do that in the warm-up. I need to take off ABS, because that will be doing horrendous things to my lap time actually at the minute. So what we got in the field then? We are right at the back. Wasn't Vince. Beanie 17 again, making another appearance. Focko with a 1:30 up in pole there. So driving options. I'm going to leave the traction control on for the minute because I haven't really got used to this car. I might just turn it down to 2 because that's not really going to make much of a difference, but it might just stop the worst of it cutting the power. Yeah, usual mix of Europeans in the room. Spain, Italy. Steve with the Italian flag bears. Steve was a very Italian name. So I think we'll set Beanie 17 as our target to beat for this race. He was in the last race and he was, or she was, very similar to us. Floating around the back having incidents, so I think that's somebody again who's not the most familiar with this track yet. FCS fan 104, let's have a clean race. Yes, let's have a clean race. Let's all have a clean race. I don't think I took much of a hit to my sportsmanship ranking in that last race, although I did have a couple of little incidents. None other incidents with the drivers though, so I'd imagine it's probably on the lower end of the penalty scale for that. Still at a B. A couple more clean races maybe. We get a fully clean race. Hopefully see that improve a little bit. So I've got 5 laps of the Red Bull Ring. Starting from the very, very back. The brake balance set down to 1. Let's change that to the radar so we can get a feel for when cars are around us. No mirrors or kind of rear view system in this car to help, as I'm sure there'll be some little side mirrors on there, but I'm going to show it here. Wow. Vince and Beanie there getting up to some real shenanigans straight away. It looked to me like Vince was the aggressor there. I think he's the one who's taking the car to one. Beanie's just going a bit low. Wow. So, straight away noticed that ABS was off. I need to roll my foot a little bit more onto the brakes. They're not in track limit. You absolute... That's a little bit wide. Certainly got advantage going there. Oh my word, and yeah, without the ABS, the brake steering is very interesting. So maybe that one I need to take that off straight away. Maybe the fact it was reducing the braking inputs by nearly a half should tell you something. But I have got more brakes at my disposal now, so once I actually learn to really control that, I should be getting much better lap times by being able to brake harder. Just got to remember not to do all in one go. Not all straight onto the panel as hard as I can. Really just keeping it clean here is the goal. If this was a longer race, I'd like to... Oh dear. And that was just, again, it's too hard on the brakes. And it started to lose it even when I was going in a straight line, so... Yeah, really got a lot of learning to do on these cars. Get it slowed down, it just doesn't feel very comfortable. Why did I come out of that corner in third? I wasn't playing that way. Oh my. I need to put that ABS back on actually. At least put it on weak. It's on the fault. But that's not good. I'm going to try and get me sense. Here's Vince. Just remember from what I've seen with his little fight with the old Beanie over there, he's not going to take a pass clearly, but I'm not even going to get to him. I'll never pass him if I try like this. And those skids at just about every opportunity. Really not getting control of this race now at all. Every little hit of the brakes is catastrophe. Now, this is a little bit unusual to be honest. I mean, most of the race cars that I've driven so far without ABS on in this game, I've not had this level of trouble with. That is every time that I go full on those brakes, it is just the sound of tyre screeching. And that can't be right, surely. You do need the ability to get full braking in sometimes. Retiree, which is second place. This is horrific. 145 that last lap. That's all down on this braking business. whereas there are some cars on this game that are clearly meant to be driven with aids that, you know, they're pretty hopeless without. I wouldn't have thought this was one of them. I would have thought you'd be faster in any of these sort of Sprint 3 cars without ABS, so maybe it is just me having a bit of a bad day and not really getting my head around it. I mean, I'm making a run hash of this track and race anyway. Again, this is going to be a 140 plus lap. Oh no, it's just scraped in under 140, but it's really, really bad. Of course, when he breaks a lock like that, you can't really trail brake or anything like that. You need to get lifted off so you can actually let the wheels regain traction and then you know, finish the braking that you started. So you're having to act like exactly like an ABS would by starting and stopping with the brake pedal. You have to take that off. It's the place where it gets you track limits. It's not bothered this time. It's we figured we've hurt ourselves enough. Don't kick him. He's already dead. So I'm going to be turning the ABS on to at least weak, I believe, after this race, because this is hard to drive. This may just be me not having a delicate enough foot with this car, but it does seem, you know, unequivocally more challenging than I have had the experience with other race cars. So we've perhaps bought a great car for this category of race, but it is what it is. I'm going to soon earn a bunch more of these things, these cars. So. We're almost half a lap down really now. Which is really bad. That's not where I want to be at all. Something like the cone there, so. Time. I just cannot get it slowed down enough into that corner. There's no way I need to get down to lower than 40 for that corner. No, I've seen that corner being taken online in Group 3 cars. Nobody's taking it that slowly. So what am I doing wrong? Something's definitely going wrong there. I should not be driving this car this slowly around this track. It's not quite happening. Finished as an absolute age before the end of that. So. Yeah, we did really poorly there. We managed to get a penalty without actually getting involved in any racing. Sad times. Now, I'm not sure what car I've raced in, but I have had a quick go at this race. On my other account that I've got a decent save on this game for, and it was nowhere near that horrible. I was kind of qualifying and finishing mid-pack, just, you know, without really practicing or rehearsing it at all. So something is not quite clicking for me with that car and the setup of it at the moment. So Of course, you can't do very much to your setup in the sport mode, because in these sorts of races, you've got balance of power applied, which is either adding ballast or restricting the amount of engine power that you've got available to you to even some of those cars out. So in theory, the races should be reasonably even. No car should have a huge advantage over another, and it works reasonably well to an extent. Of course, there's enough differences in the stock setups of the car that some of them will be more suitable to one track than the other. So you just have to bear that in mind and have a little look what kind of things people are driving, what kind of things people are getting good results out of. Those drivers who've perhaps got a similar driving style to you, if you follow any others on YouTube, have a look what they're driving. So we've got a 138. 138. Little I'll have a little lap quickly just without, just see what's happening, what's happening on the else in traffic. So I am using first gear now for some of those corners, which doesn't seem right. It seems slow. That's what it's taken to get the car stopped. I suppose this car has got a massive first gear. I think it finishes first gear at about 80 miles per hour, so it's not like it's causing me a lot of gear change issue to go down that low. But it just seems so tippy-toey, which I don't like. So, tippy-toey is what wins certain types of races. That's quite a pleasing little extra bonus there. It's wrong, when you get those right, nice. Just had to go and bolt it on the last corner again, didn't I? I might have even had a 137 or 136 there, just to... Getting the hang of it without the ABS. Just kind of, I understand now why it was taking half of the braking force away from me, because I'm not really able to put the full force of the brakes on anywhere. I mean, not even there. Just not getting that car slowed down enough for it. I'll tell you what, I'm going to try it with ABS set to weak. I need to come right out to change it. And see if we can improve on our 138s, 139s that we've been getting. Definitely feel like having the ABS on default was taking too much off us. Ooh, my sportsmanship rating's gone up to A. That's exciting. That's kind of what we was after. That was our main... yeah, so let's put it on weak. And then try a little driving that and see how that gets on. It might be steadier as it's angled. Oh, it's still just... Right, let's... keep practicing that bloody first corner, last corner rather. speed into this corner. I just can't seem to do it. If I so much as touch that yellow curb, which most people seem to get over fine, I'm just all over the place. There's a car exit there. Horrible every single time. I'm not even going to get a full lap around here again. So yeah, we're going to quali last again. Nowhere near. This is slightly disheartening. I really need to buy another car because I'm just not getting on with this one. Get into reverse. Dear me. This is not very well at all. This corner seems to be the one more. Definitely need to be in first for that corner. The exit in second was awful. Same for that one. It's a first corner. There are a lot of cars that will be second and third here. Okay, into the race again. Let's see how we go. We're not actually last. We've got Go Go Ooh and N for S1 Esco. That doesn't mean he's a Need for Speed player, because if I'm kind of hanging around with Need for Speed players at the back of this pad, this is not, this is not boding well for the future of this stream. Although, honestly, I'm not usually this bad at this game. Sir Aqualung, Jethro Tull fan there, maybe. I could also do with getting a different chair. I just spent a little bit of money on getting these. Oh dear, getting the pedal, getting the steering wheel set up. However, I'm sat in a slidey office chair, so when I push the pedal down, I go back over here. Send the mic flying and everything. So let's see how we go this time. We've got the very small aim of not finishing last. That will be our goal for this race. I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to have one more go at this race, and then just so that I don't feel like the night's been a complete horrible disaster, I should probably pop over to race A in the BMW M3, which again I'm not particularly good at. However, I do think that I'll get positions higher than last in that race. Because I'm reasonably fond of the Suzuka circuit, and I am getting used to the BMW M3's handling characteristics and the fact that it has no working brakes whatsoever. I think it's just a little hole in the floor where the driver puts his left foot down. Just watched him do it, and then I did exactly the same behind him. Over around that curve, it's just... Well, hey, we overtook a player. Amazing. Got through turn 1 with that, what can we do? Even though that guy was ghosting, I'm still trying to avoid him. Should try not to get close to him because I don't know when he's gonna pop back into, you know, full real existence. And somebody's just hit me in the back there. So that was our Mr. Need for Speed. Messing my corner up real badly. Going his way. Don't appear to have got a off my rear end. I like it. Of course, Gran Turismo does have a great livery editor built into it, so it is possible to customise those nice friendly messages to your competition. I'm still not last, which is something. Friendly over here must have just gone over the track limits a little bit there because he's got a penalty coming up. That was not in any way a fair overtake move, it just bashed me, fortunately. But I mean, I am going so slowly in some of these corners because I haven't really got used to them enough to be looking to get any meaningful time out of him. I'll get a penalty for that, even though he didn't get any penalty for it when he did it to me on the last lap. Nope, no penalty either, so we both got away with that. Even though both of us had a bit of uncleanness in that little exchange. Okay, so I can at least lean on the brakes a lot more heavily now I've got the ABS set to mild. I do seem to be able to get a bit more out of them. I'm not overly impressed with the way that this car handles the brakes. It's either, you know, no ABS, barely possible to drive, or with ABS it's taking rather large chunks out of it. That was very, very slow on the introduction to that, and I'll probably get a penalty for track limits, maybe. It's worked out well for him. But he was very, very, very slow on that entrance. Threw me off there, sent me quite wide. Starting to find a little bit more time into him, not much, but I'm not getting such a terrible drive out of it as I was at the corner. Second big turn up here though. I'm getting passed every time I go around it. Massive kick of overstay there as well, which I'm gonna finish last again. I don't remember overtaking this very quickly. So again, even though that car is, you know, ghosted out, still taking a wide berth and trying to avoid him as if he was a fully solid car coming back onto the circuit. Because at some point he is going to go back solid. And if I go crashing into the back of him, I'm going to get a penalty for not avoiding him. And it is my own fault because I can't avoid that chap. So I just have to be mindful. I saw somebody complaining on one of the forums today, showing, no, this penalty system's broken. Oh, track limits. Because I've hit the back of this car as it's ghosted back into reality. Well, no, you saw that car was going off. You know, you've got eyes. You knew he was going to come back and swing back into your racing line. So why did you not take avoiding action? Terrible, terrible drive out of that corner every time I take it in second. It needs to be taken in second. I must just be dropping too much speed through it. Not so bothered about taking this one in third because it does seem to be the right gear in this car. It has got a long first gear. It's not a horribly spinning one. It's reasonable. Again, can you not? I knew he was going to just sit it there. 1 second penalty, absolutely fucking deserved. Tough luck. Not going to return the favour though. It was tempting as it is. Unless I can pass him cleanly. No, okay. Just totally gone wild and let him off there completely. I'm going to kind of bail at this point. This is going horribly wrong. I can't drive this car around this circuit. It's quite clear. I'm going to go and do the BMW race again. Because this is just... Oh, I've gone in the pits. Yeah, this is just a joke. This is not working out well for myself. As if it wasn't already embarrassing enough, I've just had to take an unnecessary pit stop because I've crashed myself over that way. I'd like to just exit this match now, to be perfectly honest with you. However, I can't because I will lose sportsmanship for it. But I'm so far back that I'm not even going to be like halfway around the lap before the leaders finish. Horrible being this poor at a particular track. It's so sluggish off the turns. Cannot get my head around the way this car drives. I was struggling so much there with the BMW earlier in the week, but I seem to have kind of got my head around that now. And actually, you know, once you've got your head around it, there is time to be found in the way it drives. This, I am sure that, you know, I'm missing something about its driving characteristic, about how it's meant to be handled, because I just can't seem to get competitive in it. Everything's loose, everything's ragged, the braking's horrible. All the lines that turn in, just make a lovely mess of it everywhere. Yeah, highly, highly embarrassing to be honest with you there, but at least the sportsmanship record will have escaped unscathed. Suddenly got very muggy in here. No wind after all that wind we've had today. The last couple of days, in fact, just seems to have really dropped off. We're going to come out of this one, and we're going to go back to our BMW at Suzuka. Now we've got 1 minute to the race entry, so we'll just take a little A little step back. I'll tell you what. I did want to find out if that track in Gran Turismo, the Dragon Trail, was a real racetrack. So let's have a look. Dragon Trail. No, it's a fictional circuit. Fictional circuit, not real. Didn't think it was a real one, but I just wasn't sure with it actually being. Yeah, it's based on a real life location, so it's based on a place in Croatia, along the seaside. Well, Croatian seaside. So every time we open browser we do get skipped frames. That's interesting, but useful to know. Useful to find that sort of thing out now when nobody's really watching. So we should be able to enter the race in a moment. We'll get that race entry in and then we'll head into qualifying and see if we can beat our 225. Go for the sparkling graphite metallic this time. I did like that chap's idea there, or the livery editor that I'd get off my rear end. A little bit like those bumper stickers. If you can read this, you know, go and beat yourself to death with a rusty crowbar. I am not a fan of tailgaters. Not a fan of that as a driving technique. Real world, of course in racing you have to tailgate. Close to the opponent, you want to be past him. See if I can get away with turning the ABS off entirely in this car and turn the traction control down to 1, because when driven carefully it's not too terrible. For it. Gear changes, and you compare it to the race cars with their double, triple clutches and lots of wizardry inside to make sure that those gear changes are as fast as possible. Okay. I forgot you don't brake with the cones. You don't brake with the cones in the wheel. Gear changes feel a little bit wild without the traction control on. Of course, that is one of the times when traction control normally comes on just to control a little potential bit of over-revving. As the gear is changed. I may have to put some of those aids back on again, I think. I'm not sure if this is a track that's terribly easy to drive without the aids. Oh my word. I gotta come out of that, get that ABS on. I'll put it on weak. See how that works out for us. Of course, I should imagine a BMW M3 does have ABS, and it does have a degree of traction control. I'll leave the traction control on 1. Didn't really notice it getting too whizzy. It should just help us, keep a bit of speed in the car around certain corners if we get rid of it. You have to be a little bit more precise with the gear changes though. If you let it over rev, you're going to get wheel spin potentially. So brake about 100 metre mark. Get it nudged in, and then get down into second, and fight all that twitching away from there. Power on, but not too early so that we lose it. And then all of these S's. All kind of taken in third, but with varying degrees of pedal input. The trickiest one being this one, with the double apex, and obviously that sets us up in the line into the corner whose name I always forget, and then a long sweeping left-hander with a tiny little short straight section. I mean straight on the brakes before we get into diagonal one. Straighten it up. Brakes, taking the two, and then sort of got all squirrely one where the ABS off completely. You do really want to just want to tap the brake there and just kind of use the car's weight to. Oh my, holy moly! Well, there's that traction control that we turned down. There's the results of that. Certainly didn't have the car trying to do that yesterday with the traction control on 3. So as I was discovering on the last stream, oh my god, the important thing is to get straightened up for that corner. I tell you why, I'm going to put this PlayStation in the bin in a minute. We're not having a good one. We're not having a good one. Let's turn the traction control back up a little bit. Oops. Oh. That wasn't one way to press the talk, was it? So let's retry. But then that is just turn the traction straight on 2. So the whole of turn 1 at Suzuka is kind of, it just gets slower and tighter as you go through it. So the kind of trick to it is finding the spots in it where you can get the weight of the car under control again, get it straightened up so that when you do get on the brakes or when you get back on the power to exit it, you're not unsettling the car and making it likely to spin. It's not difficult to spin into turn 1 if you put a bit too much on it. There it is. So although I don't think I'm going to set the leaderboards alight with any other times that I'm setting in this practice, I certainly don't seem to have my eye dialed in for it quite as much today in any of the races. Particularly good doing single player earlier on. I would think that this is a race where I should still have a chance, even if I'm starting quite close to the back, I should still have a chance to maybe pick up a few spaces if people get, weird and wild in front of me. Just because I do have good track knowledge around Suzuka, and although it's a very difficult and challenging track to drive that I don't always get right, I do know the places where things are likely to happen and what's likely to happen in those corners, which is really important. You need to know where you think people are likely to go off, where people will make that wild lunge down your inside, where people are going to be silly and try things that they shouldn't, where you've actually got a decent chance to overtake cleanly, which is the important thing. So very late on the brakes there, just got too deep. So yesterday's record was I think actually that 225 was set. It was Monday. I don't know if there's a way to load your best lap as the ghost, because you usually get the ghost is that session's best lap rather than your overall best lap. Probably if there's a setting to change it so it's your very best lap, that would be better to have, because you want to be comparing your best lap ever rather than your best lap today. Just touch the grass in the trip. To lose traction, but let's get control again. Out to see the ghost car whiz through us, I think, because we've got a very bad line there. Now I seem to recall last time I was driving this, deciding that hairpin was better taken in second for the drive out, because this first gear in this car is quite short, it takes you up to 40 miles an hour and it hits that rev limiter really quick. Then it slows you down if you change gear while the road problem is bouncing around there. In. Nice and smooth through. It's going to be a little bit faster, but I still don't think it's going to be anywhere close to the 225, which is our qualifying record. I don't know quite how I did that, or what was better about it, which I'll have to read up and see if it is possible to load those ghost replays. So let's see how I did that lap. I've actually forgotten it at this point. And it could just be that I've done that on off stream and therefore I'm not talking all the way through it and losing my concentration that way. Track there. Let's go through that corner. Well, that's probably a fair bit more speed I can calculate these Degna 1. Get on the brakes earlier for Degna 2 so I can maximise exit speed. I didn't actually stay in second down there like I meant to, but I did get changed out of it pretty quickly, so the horrible gear change, but then really messed up the gears coming through this section. Better if I stay in the high gear there, sticking third. Should have a little bit more time off here. Hopefully, get closer and closer to that 125, 225 rather. 130 yards not too bad in this car. It's behaves itself quite well in that high speed turn. A lot of cars don't like it. Just more the corners with the heavy braking zones in front of that are the biggest challenge really. So 228. Let's get it there, we're getting down. This is really a track where once you start to feel the dial in, your lap times start to tumble because it's very, very rhythmic as a circuit. Once you start feeling quite consistent with it, you then start to just be a little bit neater in each line, get that braking spot nailed just a little bit more accurate, and everything comes together nicely. It's an absolute beautiful track to drive, and right there, it's a different line through there. Worth trying though. You know, we're in quality, that's what we do. Yeah, you ask a lot of the top drivers, wow, oh, you gotta get a penalty for that, surely. No? Yeah, of course we get a penalty for that. Yeah, a lot of the top drivers will often tell you it's one of their favourite circuits to drive. Even though it doesn't always produce the most exciting races because it's quite a narrow circuit. When things do get spicy, there is very, very good. Not long until the race starts. We will, of course, start with our qualifying time of 2:25 and 0.5, rather than the abysmal times we've been setting tonight. Which presents its own challenges because if we're at the front in a pack of other people doing 2:25s, our 2:28s and 2:31s are not going to keep up very well with that. However, an achievement, time-driven level 1. Just to put 4 or 5 hours into this save now. So we're starting in 7th. We've actually got B-class drivers up already in driver rating. So that's going to present quite a challenge to get past anybody. Of course, what we want to do is have a nice safe race, keep it clean. If we get the chance to do some overtaking, we will, but we will not dive into people, take people out, or otherwise race unfairly. So I'm the only one that's gone for the horrible shitty gold colour on the car. Not dissimilar to the colour of the car that I drive myself, so someone has to drive them. I always wonder there's somebody buying them. It's me. No bowling, please. No bowling, please. So just 12 drivers on this grid. It's not too difficult to stay out of trouble. If people are being clean and no one's trying to deliberately bash you, it's not a circuit that it's difficult to keep it clean if you're trying to. Of course, what you can never account for is whether somebody's going to smash into you. Yeah, Puggy 4010, I'm a beginner, have a good race. Well, Puggy, you know, you're in a 2:28 as a beginner. Not terrible at all. Let's see what we can get out of this one. Let's see if we can't have a total disaster in our online races tonight. Terrible start there. Terrible start. A bunch of places. Looks the A and B class for sportsmanship rating, but that didn't look it, did it, in turn one? It did not look like classy driving at all. Very, very difficult to mount a overtake on the S's. Your best bet is to try and get a good drive out of the last one in order to perhaps have the line at Degner 1, which you can get on the brakes late and make a little move into. There's also... Oh my gosh, that's a penalty. That's a penalty. That's corner put in and then onto the back of somebody. So, really not good there. Same mistake I always make, going down to first on the hairpin. Got somebody right on my tail now. I tend to take quite a conservative braking point for Spoon because I just find it. He's taken it before anyway. Yeah, you can see how much, just if you're just watching the cars in front, you can see how much the car roll and get wobbly through Spoon. Oh no, a penalty. So I didn't know I was going to do very well in this race. So I think tonight I'm perhaps just having a bit of an off night. We'll have to have them sometimes. I'm generally a lot better at this game than this. I do hope that next week's races are a little bit more. Whoa! Did not expect you to pop back into existence there. Scared me a little bit. So we're down from 7th to 9th. Not a good first lap. While not a good place to overtake, the S's, if you've got open track in front of you, there can be a good place to make up time because it's much easier to take a good. I'm doing it. It's much easier to take a nice tidy line through them if you've not got cars in front of you blocking off. You want to place your car on track. So let's see if I can get through Degner's without having a massive balls at this time. One safely. It's a co-graveyard around here, it's a catastrophe. Keep it in second, but don't put your foot down too early, you dumbass. Now, Puggy, up in 8th place, he would be a good target for us. He did say he was a beginner, so you know, I'm certainly not a beginner in the Gran Turismo series, although I'm a bit of a beginner when it comes to online racing. But I'm getting nowhere near him. Maybe he was hustling a little bit. Yeah, I just don't seem to be Don't seem to be diving it in at all tonight. Try and outbrake Puggy here. I've taken him before the corner. Just come very much to the inside of the corner, so it makes it more challenging for him to squeeze past me. If he does overcook it being a beginner, he's more likely to lose it to the outside than the inside, so the inside is generally a safer place to be once you've made that pass along the straight. Second rate passes it on. It's a shame because I used that one a lot. Seems to just be me and Puggy having our own race. There's nobody else about. Just coming into view there, but a good 7 seconds up the road, so we're not going to see them in this lap. Puggy is a beginner. He's done very well to keep things calm behind me, not get overexcited. The hairpin tends to be a place where inexperienced drivers will do that. Will try and outbrake themselves and get a little horrible end up in the back of you. So credit to Puggy. He's a beginner, then he's learning the kind of racecraft side of things very early on, and that's good to see. I think he's just had a little bit of a ding dong with Toddy, old Puggy and Toddy, sitting in a tree. But yeah, it seemed just people getting a bit screwy really, and not there's any malice there for anybody. Nicely done through 130R, so they shouldn't be coming anywhere close to me. Well, I do go deep, but not so deep that I can't recover it. And then a little bit wobbly on that line with the last turn, but we got there. Well, we're down a place. We had a little race on our own with Puggy. We were one of the few people to get a penalty in that race because we did get that track limits one for when we went all kinds of wrong at Degner 1. So I'm going to do that same race again because I do think there's more potential there in that one than there is at the minute on the Red Bull. The Red Bull one is not going well at all. Of course, now we need to build some cash up. So we're leveling up. We're getting things. Yeah, it was a good race. It was a good race. No real issues there. We kept our A rating for sportsmanship, which is good, despite that one little incident. There's nobody else involved in that, so that always, I think, puts the penalty down at the lower end of the scale. We'll stick with our sparkling graphite metallic horror show of a car colour. I think this is probably going to be my last race for the night. I did have the broadcast set for 3 hours. And I suppose if I was up chatting with anybody now and keeping it entertaining, I would stay on for a little bit longer, but I think I'm probably going to cut it slightly short tonight, just have this race, and then we'll call it a night, probably about 11:15. So, we did pick up a follower tonight. I did not see you come in the chat room, Eduardo137, but thank you very much for the follow. I'll be sure and check out your profile later if you stream yourself. Yeah, I've not really seen who's come in the chat room. If people are popping in and out, I'm not catching it because I'm concentrating on the racing, but certainly we've only had the little chat earlier on that we had with Mr. Shifty Hands, who I spent a little bit of time watching him last night playing Modern Warfare, and very entertaining it was as well. I'm not much of a first-person shooter player, however, they are pleasurable games to watch if you're watching people who know what they're doing at. I just don't. It's sort of first persons. The last one I actually played seriously and went through the full campaign mode, I think was Modern Warfare 2 on the PS3, and that was the really controversial one, wasn't it? The bit where you play as a sort of undercover infiltrator of a terrorist, but end up having to shoot up a whole airport full of people. Never wanted to shy away from a controversial plot, the Modern Warfare franchise. As I say, not really my cup of tea in terms of gameplay, just because I suck at it, but I did think that the map design and stuff looked fun. I should maybe have a little go at another first-person shooter at some point. Maybe I'm not as horrible as I thought I used to be. I play a bit more games now than I did when I last tried one. I'm thinking about other games potentially to stream. The only other game I play a lot is Rocket League. I'm not very good at it, but it's a fun one to stream, I guess. Really popular game, a lot of people playing. And constantly gaining in popularity as an esport. Other games I like to play, I always like the EA golf games. PGA Tour Tiger Woods series, which is no longer Tiger Woods since he became a filthy, controversy mired and stopped playing very well. Cheating spouse who's drink driving and all that kind of stuff that he got up to. I think the poor chap had a little bit of a breakdown there. It happens to the best of us. Mental health is no joke when things go badly. Although the cheating on his wife and the hookers and things, I've got less sympathy for him there. So yeah, they might be something worth streaming. I suppose the golf games are nice and easy to chat with, so something I can play and chat at the same time. Times are starting to come down a little bit now, getting a little bit more consistent and comfortable with these laps. I think it's probably about time I figured out how I need to load the ghost laps of the top drivers so I can watch a few and see how they've differed in their lines to me, where they've gained time and how they're hitting those super quick times. I played the Daily Race A in the minis last week and I kind of took it quite seriously. Maybe had 10 races on it on my other account, and probably 5 or 6 hours in qualifying total on and off, and I did actually get to within about 2 seconds of what the top guys were posting, so that gives me some hope that I can actually get reasonably competitive times, and that was good enough for pole with most of the kind of drivers at the rating that I was playing with. It's not spectacular by any means. I mean, 2 seconds across a 1 minute 30 lap is still a huge chunk of time, but I could see very clearly which corners I was losing time in and which corners I was pretty much keeping up with them. And knowing is the first part of the battle. was one corner I just could not seem to find more time in, no matter how hard I tried. And it was one of those big, wide, long corners where there's so many different ways you can approach the line. When I watched the replay of the driver who set the best time, it just didn't look right. The way they took the line through it, it was so fast, but I couldn't get it visualized in my head what was going on with the car and why it was, allowing him to go through with that much speed, because I certainly couldn't get through knowing that's the car that's knowing that speed. We got up on it there from knowing the track limit, bus stop chicane, so we won't be improving on our time during this qualifying session, because this is going to be our, well, we're not like to finish this lap, but this is going to be our last lap on the quali, and we have a penalty to serve. So I will do corners badly probably and just play around the track limits a little bit. If you've messed up a lap, it's something to try and do is, get a bit aggressive. You're not that bothered because I'm going to set a quick lap anyway. But if we can catch how it goes through the S's, it's telling us that we had a bad go through the S's and there's more time to be found there. So that's interesting. We really did catch up with the goes through the S's there, suggesting that by not being aggressive enough, I'm losing a chunk of time there. Too aggressive, but it's okay. I've been wondering about that for a little while. The possibility of doing the Ken block line through that corner, Gymkhana style. But that's a bit. Never mind. I think I probably want to stay third through the whole spoon complex rather than kind of messing about with it and going through second and third. The second is definitely the speed where if you're at the apex of the corner, second gives you a lot more oomph out of it, but then all that oomph you gain, you lose in the fact that the change up to third takes about 6 hours, right? So now we're starting to see some qualifying times up there. 22:21. 2:21 from the Italian driver. That is a lot faster than I'm going. A lot faster than I'm going. So I definitely need to study the laps of some of the faster guys, because that chap, his driver rating is only A. I mean, his driver rating is only B. I'm a D. I suppose the reason I'm racing with guys that keep calm, you are not Stig. We've actually got a guy with an S-class driver, the sportsmanship rating in here, just sat right behind me, the Portuguese Joe Suarez 52. So although Joe Suarez 52 is sat behind me on the grid, I'm slightly confident that he's not going to just take me out. What I suspect he's going to do is absolutely fly past me. A little hello from Sheppy there as soon as again. I've not really figured out how to get the type in. I need to add some custom chats, I feel, because I've not really messed about with that. So this will be our final race for the evening, and then we're gonna wind it down. So I certainly have a think about what the games might want to stream interested in retro games as well. I do quite like the old Mega Drive, Nintendo era games. I've got one of those little mini consoles that we could perhaps have a little play with. So you can load a bunch of different things on it. You don't have to. I've got the mini SNES one, but if you fiddle about with it with Hatchy and add a few other emulators on, you can play pretty much any game from that era. You can see people play PS1 games on them. Put Tony Hawk's on it, which would be nice. A new Tony Hawk's Pro Skater game with us soon, which is oh. Whoa. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Well, that all got very interesting there. It was a challenge to pick my way through that, but we managed. And look at this chain of cars. I mean, this is some trust. I mean, you notice the difference straight away, because if that was a group of D&E class cars in sportsmanship rating, somebody would be trying to get clever there and making a mess of that. So. My word! I wish I could, get that line every time. That was delightfully cheeky, but. Delta Vega Stickman and Sheppy up ahead of me. We raced Sheppy one tonight, but I didn't get close enough for them to really observe his driving. So I had a bit of an incident there. Run up to Spoon, but just about managed to recover it. Drive out of the second part of Spoon wasn't terrible, so shouldn't be threatened into 130R, but let's see how that goes. We're in 7th in a minute. Drop down to 4th and just nudge the car for 130R. Trying not to hit that, which we have, and a disaster, so we're not going to get any decent races tonight at all, I'm afraid. We've done badly everywhere because I've had that little spin there, and it was not that me lying through 130 hours particularly terrible. It's just if you do get out and you find yourself, I did not ignore the track limit. That was harsh. Oh, I'm a bit miffed about that, because I wasn't really ignoring the track limit. I just didn't want to come into contact with that car if he came back into existence. His little, trip into invisibility. That was a nudge. That was definitely a nudge, but you've paid for it. And I've got a penalty for it. Yeah, but that is frustrating, because that will probably knock my sportsmanship rating down to at least a B after this race. And again, pushed into another car. Not a lot I could do about it by some dirty driving behind me. So. This is quite frustrating, because we've taken penalties there, we've upset somebody else's race, and that's not really through anything that we've done wrong. That's just the guy behind me's inability to just draft closely and stay out of hitting my car. And the way the penalty system is, the half-second drop may not be enough for that guy who I've touched to kind of come back at me. Now, if I just put if I put the power down full there, I'd have hit Joe Suarez in the back, and just because I've got a better traction, a better exit out of the corner, doesn't give me the automatic right that I can start pushing cars around. This close to a car, you just need to heavily concentrate. Now he's going to get well away from me. 5-second penalty. But yeah, the chap behind me, who I was sort of concertinaed into pushing in the back, he has not caught me, and I have served my penalty. So he is going to lose out. Well, just managed to safely get past Joe Suarez there. He did come back out, but that was fair. He's allowed one move. Although he'd taken it a bit wide, he had got back onto the racing line, so he was entitled to come back, cut back across and defend that corner as long as the speed hadn't gone so low that he was a danger. So that was fine. That was fair enough for him to just push me off, push me into the position where I'm going to have to take a more difficult line into the corner. That's absolutely fine. That's racing. That's making it difficult for the chap behind you and closing the door on him a little bit. But what he didn't do was close it so far that I was unable to find a way through, because he clearly did have more speed than him after he'd gone very wide through 130. Managed to make another little place there. The chap who's had a little incident all by himself, got a bit wide into one of the S's. It happens, chase time in these things, especially when you're a bit further back and you've come away from the pack in the race and on your own. It can get a little bit of temptation to push too hard. So there's a potential of a 7th place finish on the cards here. I'm not going to get any higher than that, but that's not bad. We started, I think, close to the back. I think it was about 12th, 13th. So we've made up a few places through the race, and then one or two of them have been okay overtakes. The rest are just capitalising on other people's mistakes and not getting, drawn into it, so that you become the second casualty of the same accident, which is very easily to do. You wouldn't think that competitive level pro race drivers would rubberneck and end up in getting in collisions because of what the driver in front's doing, but you see it in racing all the time. Somebody gets a little bit wide or does something unexpected just ahead of the car, and the car behind just seems to have nothing else to do with follow. Now, Mr. Suarez there, Mrs. Suarez has just done what I did on that one, and gone full beans onto those curbs, put the pedal down, and you just spin. You just completely spin. This car and those curbs do not mix. So, okay, so not terrible at the end. I mean, we were never going to get up to those top guys at the front. They had set quality laps that were clearly way ahead of us for the time being. But hopefully, we'll do this race a few more times this week. We've got till Sunday to play it. Always get a bit more time for a few more laps of the weekend. Yeah, I could still see us taking second, third on that race. Maybe a pole. If I can get my time down to a 2:23 or something like that, I might even get the odd pole out of it. The more I do it, the more comfortable I'm becoming with driving that car. Wow. My sportsmanship rating actually went up to an S through that race. So I now have sportsmanship up to S. That is high and exactly what I was aiming for. So that's really pleasing. We're only about 6 races into our online career on this save, and we're already up to X class for sportsmanship. Of course, we can lose it as quickly as we got it. So we've got Laguna Seca unlocked. That's a fantastic racetrack, so we look forward to playing that. And Alsace Open in the other mode. We've now got a bunch of things, rewards ready to be claimed, so we might as well claim those and get our XP for it. I don't think you get cash for any of these or cards, you just get increases in your racing level, which I don't know how any of that works or what it gives you. The mileage points, they're used to upgrade your cars, so if you've got a car that's something you want to tune, which I would like to do. We won a an original Mini last Tuesday when we was playing, so I wouldn't mind having a little go with that, and like, you know, like every 17-year-old does with if they can afford it with their first car, get a Mini, soup it up. So I've earned a trophy, newbie driver. Trophies are coming through thick and fast, and we've got a little bit of you know, bonus points there and different rewards. We've got the Mount Panorama unlocked as well. We reached level 15 milestone. New racing suit. I mean, I've not had a look at all at the livery editor either on this, so again, something else to consider for streaming further on down the line. So that's going to be me for the evening. It's been a pleasure. Thanks to Eduardo137 for the follow during the stream. Sorry I didn't catch you there, didn't catch you come in. Thanks also for the few follows I've had through the last couple of days, some of the offline follows. Chili Williams, Brutal Sue, and Danny Vane. Shout out to Danny there. I hope things are going well with the band. And thanks to Shifty Hands for popping in and being the first chatter and giving me my first experiences of trying to read the chat, speak and drive all at the same time, which, let's be honest, we did that with varying degrees of success there. Not a great night for us in terms of results. I don't think I made a very good choice in picking that Audi for the Red Bull Ring race, and I don't think I'm likely to win any races with it, so maybe back to the drawing board with that. But hey ho, let's hope that next week's races bring us something more suited to us, with more experience, a track we've got more experience of, a car I would hope to see perhaps in the low-powered road cars event. I wouldn't mind seeing something with a front-engined, front-wheel drive car, because I am quite handy in those. I find the way the weight transfers and things to be to my liking. So we'll see if we'll get a bit of that. It's been a pleasure. Good evening, and I shall be back streaming again certainly next Thursday. I will book in for 8:30 again, and then as and when through the weekend, really. Not really got a set schedule other than that as yet. Well, I'm just kind of exploring this and playing around with it, but yeah,